Hey everyone! Thank you for joining Alphia and me as we discuss the third movie in the Cutler series, based on the book of the same name by the ghostwriter of V.C. Andrews. If you haven't already, please subscribe to Alphia's channel if you enjoy movie reviews and funny skits. And please subscribe to my channel. We do collaborations often, so please make sure you don't miss any of our hot tea sessions. Twilight's Child opens with Dawn returning to Cutler's Cove with Christie. Unlike in the book, we don't see the interaction between her and the sanctimonious adoptive parents who think silly schoolgirls shouldn't be mothers. We just skip over all that, and she's back home with her baby. She is informed that the hotel was shut down while she was gone. Apparently, Cutler's Cove can't run without its 18-year-old owner at the stern. Yes, she's the owner now, and it doesn't matter if she wants to be or not. Doesn't matter if she's never run a hotel before. She'll learn. Clara Jean is still bitter about the fact that the black sheep of the family inherited 60% of the property, and she lets Dawn know it. Suck it up, Clara Jean. Nobody cares what you think. Besides, I highly doubt spoiled little CJ would want the hassle of dealing with the hotel's financial problems. Good old Randolph thinks he's going to fix everything by finding a way to save 5 cents on detergent. He's been acting strangely since his mother died, calling his stepdaughter mother when actually she's his sister. It's like this is Bates Motel or something. I have to say, Jimmy's got the 70s look down. Those are some pretty fugly pants he's wearing. He doesn't like that Dawn has given up her dream of being a singer, but Dawn thinks it's more important to provide her daughter Christie with a stable life. Good for her. Guess her father and mother each must have carried a recessive selfless gene. I'd like to see the Punnett square for that. Jimmy only has 1 more month to go in the army, but it will be the longest month ever. At least for Dawn. For the viewer, it will be about 10 minutes. Before he returns to the army, he proposes to Dawn. She doesn't even take a second to consider the fact that 1, he was raised as her brother. 2, he might not come back. I mean, yeah, the war is over, but do you really want to count your chicks before they've hatched, especially where the military is concerned? 3, those are some really fugly pants. And she has no idea what the 80s has in store for her. She's like, yay, let's do it. When her mother learns the news, she's more concerned about the fact that Jimmy's poor than that he's her former brother. In fact, she refers to Jimmy as Dawn's soldier friend, so let's give her some grace and assume she's too out of it to know better. Dawn is introduced to Mother's special friend Bronson Alcott. I understand Randolph is a bit loopy these days, and yeah, from a distance, he could pass as Jeff Daniels in Dumb and Dumber. But come on, she's still technically married. Couldn't she have waited until her husband's inevitable death a few months later before trotting out the other man? By the way, Bronson Alcott is also the name of Louisa May Alcott's father, the ghostwriters not being very original. Mrs. Boston informs Dawn that Bronson was a regular presence around the hotel years ago, but adds, in a bit of a pointed way, that he kind of faded from the picture after Clara Jean was born. We'll find out later that Bronson is actually Clara Jean's real father. Dawn is not much better off than her stepfather brother Randolph. She's been hallucinating Grandmother Cutler and her wacky great-aunt Emily, envisioning them standing before her, berating her, as though they've got some unfinished business to wrap up as far as antagonizing their younger relative is concerned. Dawn picks up on running a hotel quickly enough, and before long, she's got everyone on their toes. And then Jimmy's home, and they get married. Bronson gives Dawn away because her imposter father, Randolph, can't get his together. And then he goes and drowns himself during the ceremony in a very Troy Tatterton-like way. Appropriate, considering the fact that this actor, Jason Cermak, also played Troy Tatterton in Dark Angel. If you missed Philip being a-hole in the last movie, have no fear. A-hole Philip is back, and he's as ever. For some reason, I pictured him looking more like a frat boy in the book, but in the movie he looks a little like Sideshow Bob, and I don't know what it is. It's not the hair. Maybe it's the long face. Maybe it's his scheming, diabolical ways. Though, to be fair to Philip, he really doesn't have much of a thought in his head other than to get down and dirty with Dawn, and I doubt he's thinking much about the logistics of it. More like he's some robot programmed to everything in sight, and so that's what he does. Only in his case, he's programmed to only want to Dawn. I really don't get it. Many girls dream of having the undying attention of a guy like Philip, but he just uses them and moves on to the next hot thing who looks his way. Why is Dawn so special? I'm really starting to think my theory of him being some rapist robot is not far from the truth. Dawn hasn't told Jimmy about the whole ordeal with Philip because she seems to think she's protecting Philip from some ass kicking. But take a look at Jimmy. Does he look like the kind of guy who'd pound his brother-in-law's ass? Or does he look like the kind of guy who'd be like, just don't let it happen again, alright? Yeah, he did get into a fight in the first movie, but that was 2 movies ago. I've already forgotten all about that. Oh, and Trish showed up for the wedding. Nice that she and Dawn stayed in touch. So now that Dawn and Jimmy are finally married, it's party time in the bedroom. But as they're chilling in their robes on the balcony afterward, Dawn is worried that she might be going crazy, just like her stepfather brother. I feel crazy just saying that previous sentence. It's your frickin' family that's crazy, Dawn, not you. But actually, what she's really bothered by is that she can't stop hallucinating Lillian and Emily. Jim's like, forget those monsters. Don't let them win the war. He compares what she went through with Lily and Emily to a soldier witnessing people getting their limbs blown off. She's a little traumatized, but she'll be fine. Just drink some liquids, get some rest, and she'll be better in no time. The fog rolls in and out, and now it's about 10 years later, 1984. But it doesn't feel like the 80s. Dawn is stressed because she can't seem to get pregnant. And when you're trying to get pregnant, stress can't be good for that. She goes to a doctor who decides to pull an American Idol on her by making her think all hope is lost, only to announce, just kidding, you're pregnant. Dawn is so excited. She can now give her daughter Christie a sibling. Her mother, Clara Jean, wants to celebrate the news. Dawn is like, why do you have to always make everything about you and your need to throw a party? Bronson has a private chat with Dawn so that she can understand her mother a little better. And she learns that, 1, Clara Jean didn't seduce her father-in-law. In fact, Dawn is the product of a non-consensual event. Not really a surprise. Bill Cutler sounded like that type, and I never even met the guy since he was dead from page 1. Secondly, Bronson let Clara Jean go in the past because he had to care for his sick sister, so he's a martyr apparently. Good for him. Thirdly, Bronson is Clara Jean's real father. Funny how the love child of Bronson and Clara Jean turns out to be the bad seed. Funny how that works out in life. Shortly after, Fern is found, and Dawn and Jimmy get to meet her with her adoptive parents tagging along. Her adoptive father seems like a real peach of a guy. Not. But what can you do? He doesn't do anything illegal. He just seems like your typical a-hole father. In the book, Fern's new name is Kelly Osborne, like Ozzy Osbourne's daughter. In the movie, she's Fern Osborne, I guess. Now Clara Jean is back at the hotel and getting crazy drunk. Her wild curly 80s hair makes me think of Kitty Dennison from the book Heaven, or how I pictured her looking, only Kitty had red hair. Clara Jean's is like dark blonde or light brown or something. Clara Jean finds out her stuff has been hauled away and she's ticked. She goes to confront Dawn, and this escalates to the point where Dawn gets her ass kicked by a wild woman and loses her baby. What a POS that Clara Jean is. I hope they throw her ass in jail. But no, she's disappeared, and Mother Clara Jean is like, I will never forgive her for what she did. Not ever. When Clara Jean falls off a cliff later on in the movie, though, Clara Jean is the only one crying at her funeral, so yeah, she lied. She did go and forgive that. Fern shows up at Dawn and Jimmy's new house where they moved to get out of the hotel from hell. She tells them that she knows they're her real family and that she doesn't want to live with her parents anymore because her daddy does bad things to her. In the book, she goes into detail about how he essays her in the bathroom. In the movie, she doesn't really get into detail at all, but she says enough for Dawn and Jimmy to take her in. And Fern's adoptive family doesn't put up a fight. Dawn and Jimmy figures it's because they don't want the hassle of the allegations coming out. I guess that's one possibility. Jimmy's little brother Gavin also makes an appearance in the movie, stopping by to visit with his older siblings. Fern turns out to be a little she-devil. She tries to get her niece Christie to sneak alcohol. In the book, the things she gets Christie and Gavin to do are much more inappropriate and triggering, but that's not in the movie, thankfully. Later on, Dawn finds out Fern has been stealing. Dawn tries to talk to Jimmy about it, but Jimmy says Occam's razor suggests it was the ants that probably did it. Those thieving insects, always up to no good. Also, Fern has a magazine about child abuse, so apparently that's proof that she made the allegations against the father up? I don't know. I guess. In the book, the magazine describes a scenario exactly like the scenario Fern told Dawn and Jimmy about a girl being essayed in the bathroom. Apparently only one girl in the world has ever been essayed in the bathroom. Philip marries a woman named Betty Ann, who quickly notes that, wow, she looks so much like Philip's sister Dawn, it's uncanny. Dawn's like, huh, funny. But for some reason, even after Betty Ann comes crying to her about how weird Philip's acting and how he seems to have some fixation with sleeping in his younger sister's bed, Dawn decides to brush off her concerns and pretend it's just anxiety over the fact that Betty Ann's now pregnant and gonna have his twins. He's just a nervous soon-to-be daddy, that's all. If I were Dawn, I'd be like, yeah, that right there is a red flag. Run. The fact that she doesn't do this, even after Philip comes to Dawn's house drunk one night and tries to essay her yet again, just blows my mind. So yeah, Dawn reveals to Clara Jean that she's not really Randolph's daughter, and therefore has no right to Cutler's Cove. Yet another V.C. Andrews book, movie, where someone takes a gamble without calling in Maury Povich to make it official. What if Bronson was mistaken and he's not Clara Jean's father? I guess we'll never know. Clara Jean and her boyfriend get into a fight on top of a cliff instead of somewhere more sensible like, I don't know, a padded cell, and she falls to her death. So sad. We shall not miss you, Clara Jean. Michael Sutton tries to blackmail Dawn because he's fallen on hard times. Not sure how a gross old man who took advantage of a 17-year-old student has the audacity to ask that now-grown 17-year-old for money, but the law is weird when it comes to child custody, and this was the 80s, so who knows. Dawn is smart enough to get a lawyer to record their conversation, so that puts an end to Michael's little game. Dawn returns to the meadows and finds out that Emily accidentally swallowed some rat poison when reaching for her secret stash of sugar. Luther seems suspiciously pleased to be free of the wench. I suspect he might have had something to do with it. He knows a little too much of the details of her final moments, if you ask me. Dawn gets pregnant again, and apparently Christie can play the piano while Dawn sings. Glad Dawn has her own little personal servant to accompany her when she performs for guests. That's one reason to have kids, I guess. I would rate this movie a 4 out of 5. I enjoyed it. I think these adaptations are some of the best Lifetime has done, but it could be that I just don't remember the books well enough to complain. I do seem to remember Christie playing over at Uncle Philip's house as a child in the book and being beyond annoyed that Dawn could be so reckless with her child's safety. I'm sure she didn't understand just how dangerous Philip was and assumed she was the only one he was after, but, well, we'll wait for movie 4 to discuss that more. What are your thoughts, Alphia?
What's up, everyone? Thank you so much, Jennifer, for letting me come onto your channel again. So we will be talking about V.C. Andrews' Dawn. This is the Twilight's child. So we open up where Dawn comes back, and I think the hotel had been closed for 3 or 6 months. And they reopen it, and they're having complaints. And of course, Clara Jean is still up to her antics or whatever. But what she did was the most craziest thing. She should have been locked up, but she got her karma, and I'm not taking it back. Because how do you get so mad at your own sister that you purposely come in her room, barge in her room, and attack her, and you cause her to have a miscarriage? And you know that Dawn wanted this. Now, let's back up. So, Dawn comes, open the hotel, and before she, think of all the plans, she realizes that Randolph is not right in the head. And, of course, her mom knows too, but she's too busy flaunting her new boo that she was engaged to before. Now, this is not just any boo. This is Clara Jean's father. You see how someone tried to come steal your joy and then you find out about something? So that's Clara Jean's father. Randolph and her only had one child, which is Philip, and we're gonna call him Creepy Philly, because he was creepy as hell. And what he did to Dawn was very sad. While Jimmy was away, he attacked her, had assaulted her, and she never told Jimmy. And he asked Jimmy to be, if he could be his best man. What kind of mess is that? And then he brought Betty, and he eloped with her. And Betty said, you had his wife, which is Betty, she dyed her hair blonde, which is crazy. Like, what the hell? Oh, Lord. And I love how Clara Jean got her little karma. Let me tell you what happened before she got her little karma. She came in the house with her little friend, and, of course, Dawn's daughter answers the door, and she's like, this is who's here, and she brings a guy with her, and he's a lawyer. And when Dawn had her one statement, she's like, only one Cutler's in the room, and she was like, yes, I'm a Cutler because you're a bastard child. She's like, you might want to not do that. Then it slipped out. I want to say one thing. I liked how Dawn's mom was trying to be there for her and trying to repatch history, and she wanted to give her a lavish wedding. She did. And then when Dawn became pregnant before her trifling ass younger sister attacked her, so she couldn't have a child, Dawn could still have children, but she had a miscarriage, and it was really, really, really sad. Now, Dawn's wedding was even sad because, of course, she's trying to celebrate her wedding, and then, of course, her father ends up killing himself. Even though Randolph was not her biological father, he was like her brother slash stepfather, which is crazy because she finds out that her mom was not consensual with her grandfather. Her grandfather ended up, essaying her, and that's how Dawn was conceived. And then Dawn's mother told the grandmother, and the grandma was upset, and it was a lot. So basically, Dawn's mom wasn't really a creeper at first, and Fern and Randolph was never intimate no more after that. So she became intimate with her ex-fiance, and that's how Clara Jean came about. And so 2 people died here, Randolph and Clara Jean. I was sad Randolph died, and as Jennifer stated, he basically offed himself just like Randolph offed himself like Troy did in the Ruby series of VC Andrews. I do want to point out some things, so just bear with me. Hold on one second. Okay, so I did want to point out some things that Jennifer did say. Okay, so here it is. I remember, of course, when Jimmy does first propose to Dawn, she doesn't even take into consideration that they were raised as brother and sister, even though they are not brother and sister biologically. So she says yes, she doesn't hesitate, but she's upset, because Jimmy goes away again for a month, and then he returns back, which is quick for us in the movie, but long for her, like 30 days. But it's like he leaves, and then he comes back. And of course, okay, she tells her mom about the engagement, and that's when she meets Clara Jean's father. And let's talk about this engagement. Her mom, instead of her saying, he's kind of like your brother, she said, well, Jimmy doesn't have money. What the heck? You ain't gonna ask her about, they was kind of raised together, but I guess we're over that fact because since he's not her brother, we'll have to really linger on, hey, he's her brother, she shouldn't marry him. But go ahead, kids, let's do this. But y'all were raised as siblings. I get what you're talking about, Jennifer. I really do. What else can I say? Okay, so we meet Fern, which is the baby that her mom had in the first Dawn series, and Fern is a hard-headed child. She steals money. Even in the scene at the end with the piano, she's stealing the money while Dawn and her daughter Christie are playing. Christie's playing the piano and Dawn's singing. Y'all, I love how Dawn is running the hotel. She still has flashbacks of Emily, and Emily is her aunt, and Emily was not a nice lady. She had Dawn doing stuff in the second movie where she was cleaning, and Dawn was pregnant, and I'm like, what the heck you got your niece doing? All because she got pregnant before she got married. And of course, Christie's dad comes back, and Christie's dad wants money. And I'm like, hold on, Michael, you ain't been doing good the whole time, and instead of you trying to get a relationship with your daughter, you want money? No, you a deadbeat. Going over there. And I like how she called her lawyer, and I like how she was about to write him a check before, and her grandma came to visit her. It's like, basically, I never wrote no blackmail off or whatever. I never took care of a blackmail. So she handled it the old-fashioned way. She tricked him, had him thinking, had her lawyer set up a recording underneath the table, which is a good idea for anybody that's trying to set somebody up. Set that recording up under the table. Um. Okay, so I really want to know, did Fern even get mistreated? Because we found out she was reading some books and she was going off about abuse or whatever. Were they mean to her? Because, okay, her adoptive father was really rude to her. Really, he was, because he was talking about don't talk like this and don't talk like that. So, sir, what does that mean? Because inquiring minds like me want to know. But Dawn's series was really good. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thank you so much, Jennifer, for letting me come onto this channel and talking to you. And once again, I'm so glad Clara Jean got her karma in the end, because she did Dawn dirty. And offering her daughter, yeah, you deserved it. Even though she was up there talking to the guy that she brought to the home to get her money, how you gonna be upset about not even being a Cutler? Baby, you a whole nother, your daddy a lawyer. Girl, bye. Girl, bye. And then the grandma, I'm gonna go ahead and say, I wish the grandma would have knew that was not her granddaughter. Oh, I wish the grandma would have knew, because that'd been even more better. It would be even better, like better to the point where grandma would have treated her probably worse than Dawn. She would treat her like a redheaded stepchild. Okay, what you think, Jennifer? All right, thank you so much, and thank you again for letting me be on your channel. All right, bye.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Alphia. You always have great insight, and it's great to hear your thoughts as well. So that's it for today, everyone. Please subscribe to our channels. Please like and comment on this video, and I hope you all have a great day.
I wish I could give you up, but you're my new favorite drug. Enter into my blood, run with my toxic love. Look how you make me happy. You take a hold of me. You take a hold of wish I could give you up, but you're my new favorite drug. Enter into my blood, run with my toxic love. Look how you make me happy. You take a hold of me. You take a hold of me. You take a hold of me. Look how you make me.
Mm-hmm.